They say it's wrong, but we doing right. We moving right, we in a loop, ducking, moving like shit. From noon to night, it's just the goons and the crew is tight. What you doing tonight? Just me and you, when the mood is right. Mix a loop with Sprite, cause we out, yeah. And my team always getting that green, yeah. Cause we out, yeah. And my team always getting that green, yeah. Cause we out, yeah.
Minute Made high, whip it up. Tree beef like cows in slaughterhouse. That's why we gripping up. Doing dirt on my own. Ain't no bitching up. Counting money talk collection going on in my pocket. Stunting when I buy the ball. Change with Ted Dawson. He brushed me wrong. I have him slipping, grazing in the grass. She got an all your body easy slipping when I smash. She wanna feel the fire, Peebo Bryson. I tell her Jula pick up the pieces on this average white band. I see mixed brown dope, it ain't tens. Damn, what he talking about? Money a Muslim before they come and chalk him out. That's what my talk be about. You ain't feeling what I'm saying, ma. Get out the car and walk it out. You saving me gas, me money, and not wasting my fucking time. Can't you see I'm on my fucking grind, pretending like they not, but they are. So tell them get off mine. They say it's wrong, but we doing right. We moving right, we in a loop, ducking, moving like shit. From noon to night, it's just the goons and the crew is tight. What you doing tonight? Just me and you, when the mood is right. Mix a loop with Sprite, cause we out, yeah. And my team always getting that green, yeah. Cause we out, yeah. And my team always getting that green, yeah. Cause we out, yeah. We out, yeah.
Chicken from the rain when he was suddenly struck by lightning. But due to the high voltage blast from the lightning strike, he miraculously could see and hear perfectly fine again. During Adam Rayner's early life, he suffered from dwarfism, and at his tallest, he came in at 4.5 feet. But at the age of 21, he developed a tumor on his pituitary gland, which led him to grow to a staggering 7 feet 8 inches within a few years. This made him the only human to ever be classified as both a dwarf and a giant in the same lifetime. Rory Curtis got into a car accident that was so severe he fell into a coma for several days. Thankfully, he came out of it, and when he woke up, he could magically speak perfect French, even though he had only taken a few French lessons 12 years before the accident.
Real-life human superpowers. Let's go. LRP5, or Unbreakable Bone Disorder, is a genetic mutation that has been found in less than 1,000 people over the last 25 years. The mutation can make a human's bones almost 8 times more thicker than the average person, which means they're almost unbreakable. The disorder was first discovered when a man was involved in a deadly car accident, and he walked away with no broken bones at all. Aside from walking away from car crashes, scientists also discovered that people with this disorder could fall from 10 stories above the ground and not break a single bone in their body. Since this disorder is fairly new, and there's almost no side effects, there could be many people growing up without knowing about their superhuman disorder. Who knows, maybe you have it, but don't try testing it out. If you learn something, leave a like, maybe even a follow.
Archaeologists in Turkey have just discovered a sarcophagus which they believe could belong to Saint Nicholas. Yeah, the real man who inspired Santa Claus. It's a Christmas miracle. The tomb was uncovered at the Church of Saint Nicholas, where he served as a bishop in the 4th century. The church was built over his original burial site, but in the 11th century, his bones were reportedly moved to Italy. So for centuries, everyone kind of assumed that there was nothing left. But then they made this new discovery hidden right near the altar, and it matches historical records, making experts believe that this could be his original resting place. I mean, if we find IRL Santa, IRL Santa before GTA 6, how do we top that?
Here are the creepiest Christmas urban legends, part 1. Ever heard of the Yule Cat? This is an extremely creepy cat that's said to originate from Iceland. According to stories, the Yule Cat enjoys snacking on people during the holiday season. And what makes the Yule Cat even weirder is that it specifically targets people who haven't received any new clothing before Christmas Eve. Iceland is also home to Gryla. According to Iceland lore, Gryla is a giant ogress who leaves her cave in the mountains to feed on children during Christmas. To make the story even creepier, Gryla keeps the Yule Cat as a pet. What the hell is going on in Iceland? Then we have Belschnickel, and this one comes from Germany. According to people of the Rhine, Belschnickel is an old bearded man who visits children during the holidays with Santa Claus. If you were good that year, he'd give you cakes and candy. If you were bad, well, Belschnickel would pull out a switch and whip the children until they behaved. This is probably why Dwight from The Office loved him so much. There's also Krampus. This is one you've probably heard about from movies and books. In the Alpines, Krampus is a horned demonic figure who visits the homes of naughty children on December 5th and punishes them. In some versions of the story, he hits them with birch rods. In others, he straight up takes them back down to hell with him. The Germans definitely know how to scar kids for life.
Imagine ripping up your letter you wrote to Santa Claus, not knowing that once you do this, you'll be summoning the demonic version of Santa, aka Krampus. The creature is described as the dark shadow of Santa Claus, who is believed to punish those who he deems naughty, or people who have lost their Christmas spirit. Now, it's not only Krampus that you have to worry about, because like Santa Claus has his elves, Krampus has his own too. He has evil gingerbread men, as well as evil elves. And on top of that, he has an absolutely terrifying Pop Goes the Weasel. Now, the movie premises on a dysfunctional family who ends up gathering together for, of course, Christmas, and all of a sudden the power goes out. And of course, the reason the power is out is because Krampus has been summoned. And let's just say they're not having a jolly time. And for all of you who are going to say you're going to fight back against Krampus, you guys are going to fight off his not only evil elves and his whole evil team, but Krampus, the demonic version of Santa Claus himself. It's said that no fight back against Krampus does actual damage to him. He's more or less immortal. Once you find yourself on his naughty list, there's no way of getting off. The movie, of course, that I'm talking about is Krampus, and in my opinion, it is one of the best Christmas horror movies you could possibly watch. Now look, we only have a couple more days left until Christmas, so if you haven't ever seen it, I suggest you watch it. And of course, don't forget to like and follow for more.
Sauce the boss, yo, sauce the boss.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 7. The first vibrator in history was invented by Cleopatra. She filled up a hollow gourd with angry bees, causing the gourd to vibrate rapidly, and the rest is history. 4 different popes have died during or because of sex. 2 of a heart attack during, and 2 because they were killed by the husbands of the women that they had an affair with. Immediately after bussing onto his wife, the father of microbiology, Antoine van Leeuwenhoek, whipped out his microscope and observed sperm cells for the first time in human history. According to some accounts, King Tut was mummified with a boner. If you have an erection that lasts longer than 2,000 years, please contact an archaeologist for immediate medical assistance. The man who created autopilot, Lawrence Sperry, tested it out by having sex on board with his lover. However, the two bumped the controls and crashed the plane.
This is a scary story about the fake Santa, part 1. It was Christmas Eve. An 11-year-old named Julia was decorating her Christmas tree. Her mom wasn't home because she was working as a nurse at a local hospital. The two of them lived in a small apartment in the suburbs. Her mom called her and said she won't be home till late. Julia said okay and continued decorating the tree. Even though Julia was home alone, she still felt safe because she was on the 6th floor of the apartment building. She finished decorating and started to wait for her mom, when suddenly, she heard scratching at the door. She stopped what she was doing and she listened very carefully. She then approached the door and looked through the peephole. Standing there was a man dressed as Santa. Then nervously she said, "Who's there?" The man said, "It's Santa Claus. Let me in, I'm cold and tired and hungry." Julia then said, "My mom isn't home, please leave." The man's eyes filled with anger. He then started to bang on the door and ring the doorbell continuously. "It's Santa Claus, Julia," he said. "Have you laid out milk and cookies for me, Julia?" Julia's stomach then dropped. How does he know my name, she thought.
Here are 10 fun facts about how the Grinch Stole Christmas that you definitely didn't know about. This movie is more adult than it seems because in the beginning of the movie, in which the Grinch is found by the two women, the party that they're at is a swingers party. But actually, speaking of that, Audrey Gazel, the wife to Dr. Seuss, actually kind of watered down the original story because it was supposed to be more of an adult movie. Jim Carrey actually went under torture endurance training because of all the makeup he had to wear. That was about like 50 pounds of makeup, and they put him through all of that training so that he wouldn't go crazy. A makeup artist actually took a leave of absence because how Jim Carrey was treating everyone on set, and then she came back after Jim Carrey agreed that he would start to treat people better. Jeffrey Tambor, who played the mayor of Whoville, actually suffered gout on set. Ron Howard, the director of the film, put on the Grinch makeup for one of the days of shooting so that he could understand what Jim Carrey was truly going through. Ron Howard also casted some of his own relatives, one being his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, who was in The Help, the Jurassic World movies, and has also become
become a director. But he also casted his brother Clint, who plays Hubris, the sidekick to Mayor Mayhew. Many of the extras in the movie were actually Cirque du Soleil performers, which makes sense because they were doing a bunch of acrobats throughout Whoville. Second graders actually helped with the design of the costumes in the movie, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of them look like just stuff thrown onto costumes, but it makes so much sense for Whoville. Max was played by 6 different sheltered dogs. Horton from Horton Hears a Who actually makes an appearance at the top of Whoville's town center, and at the end of the movie, Cindy Lou Who passes Max a plate of green eggs and ham.
Have you ever wondered why so many Latino families celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve and not on Christmas Day? Well, to make a long story short, it's because of a Catholic belief. That belief is that Jesus was born at midnight, which is why we all get together on Noche Buena and not Christmas morning. We eat good food and wait for that clock to hit midnight. Some families will go to midnight mass while others stay home and celebrate and embrace each other and wish each other a Feliz Navidad right at midnight. Even though it all stems from the same Catholic belief, it's celebrated differently across Latin America. In some places like Mexico, for example, the days leading up to Noche Buena are celebrated with Las Posadas. That's why December 25th feels calm, resting and eating good leftovers because we did all of our celebrating in the days leading up to Christmas Day. That's why for many Latinos, Christmas isn't about waking up early, it's staying up late together. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Les deseo una muy bonita Navidad, and I will see you guys after the holiday.
Sauce the boss in the building.
Shout out to Sauce the boss.
The last one
boss,
completely
man.
blew my mind. There exists a plankton called dinoflagellates that if you consume it, will reverse your sense of hot and cold, and it can last for years. Scientists recently discovered some sharks living in an active volcano, but they can't get in to study them because, well, it's a volcano and it's too hot. In 1972, Vesna Vulovic fell out of a plane at 33,000 feet, no parachute, and lived. Sour Patch Kids and Swedish Fish are made by the same manufacturer, and in fact, the red Sour Patch Kid is literally a Swedish fish, except with sour sugar on it. The only people that know how to open the United States president's car doors are the Secret Service. And last but not least, 1 million people got together and decided to follow this clown on TikTok. And I've got to say, guys, I'm touched. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for giving me this platform and for supporting me. And I love you guys. Thank you.
The darkest Christmas traditions to ever exist. Many European countries celebrated the character Krampus, who was basically the devil compared to Saint Nick. He was a demonic goat monster that would go around whipping bad children and kidnapping them in his sack and enslave them. This is actually kind of where the whole elves thing came from. In Austria and Bavaria, they don't have Santa Claus, they have someone named Frau Perchta. She was sort of like the witch version of Santa Claus and would also see who was naughty or nice. But instead of giving bad children coal, she would slit open their stomachs and fill them up with straw. In Iceland, you better pray that you get socks for Christmas. For there, they have the Yule Cat, and any children that don't get clothes for Christmas get devoured by the Yule Cat. And if you didn't get any new clothes, you had to leave your old ones out for the cat to see and pray to God they meet his standards. In France, they tell the story of Hans Trapp, a man who decided to cannibalize children after being kicked out of the church. He returns every year on Christmas disguised as a scarecrow going door from door.
Superpowers. 1. This is Ben Underwood. He was born in California on January 26, 1992, and seemed like a very healthy child. But sometime later, his mother noticed a strange shine in his right eye. However, the boy showed no signs of vision problems. Shortly after, a medical examination determined that he had cancer in his eyes, and there was no other option but to remove them to save his life. As expected, Ben's world changed completely from that moment on. Completely blind from such an early age, he began to develop a process in which his ears acquired a special sensitivity, learning to identify objects through sound. This ability is known as echolocation and is highly developed in animals like bats, but very few cases have occurred among humans. He makes clicking noises with his tongue, which, when hitting objects around him, produce an echo. He is able to hear the echo and determine what the object is, how far away it is, and even what material it is made of. Thanks to this auditory vision, he was able to do activities like running without getting lost, playing basketball, riding a bike, playing video games, surfing, fighting opponents, and practicing martial arts. Without a doubt, he is a true superhero with real superpowers.
These three kids are pure evil. In 1966, in the southwestern town of Greenwich, Connecticut, there were three ill-tempered kids, Damien, Caleb, and Axel. The townspeople called them the Little Satans. From the age of 5, the Little Satans began to show a cruel side, frequently capturing small animals in the town's woods. The other kids in town were terrified and kept their distance. However, the parents of these three believed it was just harmless childhood mischief. Most townspeople chose to stay silent, fearing retaliation from these wealthy and influential families. But the Little Satans' behavior became increasingly brazen. One day, a few children from town went missing, and the last time anyone saw them, they were with the Little Satans. Yet, due to a lack of direct evidence, the local police were unable to launch a deeper investigation. One officer, Marcus Hayes, refused to give up. He kept investigating quietly, watching the three families day after day. Then, one night, all the Little Satans' parents gathered together, and Marcus sensed that something was wrong. He immediately called for backup, and they eventually discovered a hidden basement. Inside, they found the missing children from town. As Marcus dug deeper into the case, he uncovered something even more terrifying. Do you want to know what Marcus found? Comment Little Satans to watch part 2.
Fun fact. St. Nicholas was a real person who lived sometime around the year 280 in modern-day Turkey. He had a large amount of inherited wealth and traveled the countryside giving away his money to the poor and sick. One day, St. Nicholas arrived in a village and heard the story of a rich man with 3 daughters who had lost his wife and in his grief had spent his wealth and was now poor. The father was worried his daughters would never be married, since back in those days, the woman's family would have to pay a dowry to the man's family in order for the marriage to be accepted. St. Nicholas waited till dark and snuck into the father's home and saw the girls had hung their freshly washed socks by the fire to dry. St. Nicholas put gold coins in each one of the girls' socks so that they could pay a dowry and be married. As he was leaving, the father caught him and thanked him. St. Nicholas did not want any recognition and told the father not to tell anyone, but the father didn't listen. The father used the gold coins to pay dowries, and all 3 girls were married. The legend of St. Nicholas spread throughout the countryside, leading people to hang their socks by the fire in hopes that St. Nicholas would break in and leave them some gold coins.
Shout out to Sauce the Boss.
Christmas
Boss,
facts
man,
that I
who's in the
bet you don't
building.
know. The reason that Christmas is celebrated across the world is that it is known as the birthday of baby Jesus. But many historians say that Jesus was born in the springtime and not in the winter. At one point, it was illegal to celebrate Christmas in America. For 22 years, from 1659 to 1681, any American caught celebrating Christmas received a fine. And if it wasn't for Coca-Cola, Santa would have looked a lot different than he does today. Before an artist sketched this picture of Santa in 1931, he looked a lot different. In the years prior, the jolly old man didn't really wear red, and many people thought that he was kind of scary looking. So it's a good thing that Coke made that ad. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
So while everyone is paying attention to all the chaos that's ensuing with Annabelle, no one is paying attention to a darker, much scarier doll that the Warrens have. I'm going to give you guys a warning before I flash it on the screen. 3, 2, 1. This is the Warren Shadow doll, and the second that I see photos of it, I just feel icky. And this doll doesn't just haunt you, it follows you into your dreams. And if anything, this doll is more of a weapon than it is a haunted object. It is made up of animal bones, fingernails, feathers, and a human tooth. It does not have the same friendly face that Annabelle has. This doll isn't here by accident either. According to Ed and Lorraine Warren, this doll was actually made by people who were doing occult magic and using rituals to summon spirits and bind it to the object. Allegedly, according to the Warrens, it was also created with rituals involving human. What happens with the doll is people will actually use it for spells. They'll use someone's name and a photo of the doll and then send them that curse. If you have knowledge on occult magic, you can essentially do whatever you want to that person. It does this by going into your dreams, paralyzing the victim with fear, and then causing real world damage, just losing a job or a breakup, divorce, or even just unaliving. Man allegedly mocked the doll one time and it infiltrated his dreams over and over again, and then eventually he started to suffer a health decline, and the Warrens believe that this was connected in some way. Thankfully, the doll is totally sealed, locked away. Okay, but I just looked up on TikTok that there is some videos of it just being out and about. So now I'm wondering, is it on tour with Annabelle? I'm confused.
This woman begged someone else to enter life and explained how she wanted it done. 35-year-old Sharon Lopatka was an entrepreneur from Maryland. She was quietly building an online business where she would sell crafts and digital services. Sharon wanted to explore the darkest corners of human experience, which is pain, submission, and ultimately death. While she didn't want her life to be ended in the traditional sense, she wanted to die by design. At this time, the internet was still young and unregulated, so she had a plan to look for someone to do it for her. The year is 1996, and Sharon is visiting fetish chat rooms and underground forums that are devoted to torture, bondage, and death fantasies. She exchanged hundreds of messages with strangers who shared or claimed to share her interests, but no man ever took her seriously. That was until she met 45-year-old Robert Glass. Robert was a computer analyst from North Carolina. He was married, had children, but he had a secret double life online. For weeks, the two exchanged graphic emails, and Sharon is telling him that she wants to be tortured and unalived and is telling him how he should do it. One of Sharon's final emails says, "You will cause my death, but it will not be murder." On October 13th of 1996, Sharon boarded an Amtrak from Maryland to North Carolina, and she left behind a note for her husband that said, "I'm going away. If you ever find my body, don't think badly of the man who did this." When Sharon arrived in North Carolina, she went to Robert's trailer where they would spend several days together and they would act out violent sexual rituals. At one point, things went too far and Robert strangled Sharon with a nylon cord, ending her life. 12 days later, police officers were searching Robert's home and they ended up finding Sharon's body in a shallow grave 75 feet away from his home. Her personal belongings like clothes, computer disks, ropes were scattered all around the scene. This case truly shocked investigators. It was one of the first murders in history to be solved through email evidence. In January of 2000, Robert pled guilty and was sentenced to 6 years and 7 months in prison. On February 20th of 2002, Robert suffered a fatal heart attack behind bars just 2 weeks before he was supposed to be released.
I don't know if you guys saw, but some guy in New Jersey was just walking the street and somebody shot the guy in the back with a bow and arrow and killed him. Now, the killer decided, after I shoot this guy with the bow and arrow, I'm going to go inside of a home and light it on fire. So he went inside of the home. He lit it on fire. It was like hours and hours of standoff with the cops and the SWAT team and everything. Eventually, the SWAT team and other units arrived. They stopped the fire. The guy emerged armed like crazy and covered in soot from being in the fire. But they finally apprehended the guy after that long. The victim was 45-year-old Pablo Criollo. He was literally minding his own business walking too. This guy was just a nice guy. The killer's name is Oscar Fiju. He's 44 years old. The sad thing about this too is that Pablo's daughter is just asking the mother, "When is my dad coming home? Where's my dad?" and stuff. She's confused about his absence. I mean, obviously with kids that are that young, you can't just say, your dad got killed. They're not going to really understand that or cope with that well. Eventually, she's going to find out, and it's going to be heartbreaking. Neighbors of the killer said he looked like the devil. I guess he had an evil look to him. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments. This is really sad.
All Muslims that watch anime, wallahi, jinns might possess you. Just listen to what the sheikh said after removing a jinn from a boy.
Extracted a jinn from a kid. To him, number one tool that we use against you is porn. Number two, anime. We use anime. People are addicted to it, and our goal is to make you say
Wallahi, it's crazy how jinns use the form of anime to possess children and make them devil worshippers. This does not make anime haram. Just be careful with what you're watching. Share this with all your friends and spread awareness.
About you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the building.
Sauce the boss, yo, sauce the boss, of course.
All right, let's get into part 2. I've been at a Spotify event all day, so I feel like I've been in the sun and I need like a lot of TLC on my skin. The last story took place in a small world with the mom who like kind of finished out the role of her camera, right? You remember in that story, she pointed the camera up towards the ceiling and she captured something she did not expect. So the day kind of finishes out and nobody ever really knew like what happened, why they were escorted off of a small world until they looked at that camera roll. So I kind of sheared this one down because it was really thick last time and it took forever to dry. The strangest thing that they noticed right away was that there appeared to be a pair of red overalls above them. Anybody who knows about A Small World, you know that the old uniform from the 90s was red overalls. Legend has it what they saw above them and captured on camera was an employee who was dangling. The creepiest part about this, there is allegedly a picture online that shows the red overalls and proves the legend.
3 things you didn't know were haram. The last one is going to shock you the most. Number 1, celebrating Christmas. Number 2, you are not going to believe this.
Celebrating Christmas.
Number 3, this one is shocking. Celebrating Christmas. Oh, please take down the tree and go in a
prayer man.
They put a warning on the documentary saying that they were not responsible for any strange things that might happen to you after watching it. Horror movies do not freak me out, but real life stuff does. I just got done watching a documentary about a guy who wanted to get cursed. He went to several people and was like, look, what's the most negative thing you got? I had to reach out to ask him some questions because I was like, what on earth would possess you to do something like this?
So what on earth would possess a person to go looking for a curse? If you really believed in curses, you wouldn't do it. My reality was I didn't really believe a curse would have any effect on me. And that's not to say that I didn't believe in the paranormal or the supernatural, but really I just didn't think that magical practitioners necessarily had the power to inflict a curse on someone else. The reality is I started to feel a lot differently after having gone through this process. I absolutely do not recommend people do this.
I wanted to know so badly too, is his crew okay?
My exec producer, at one point, he called me up that he started having sort of heart palpitations. And he thought to himself, oh no, what have I done? I've been involved in this cursed film and now it's come to get me. Fortunately, he was fine, but he certainly got worried for a moment. And I also know that my local producer in Mexico, he called me up a few months after going through the events that we do in Mexico. He was involved in a small car accident. And then I believe his home was burgled. He was beginning to get worried. I was thinking, what have I unleashed? What's happening here? Fortunately, it did seem to stop there.
Because of the warning at the beginning, has anyone reached out that's watched this documentary and had something bad happen to them?
I don't believe that people watching this film have been affected by it, although I have had a few random messages from people on social media that said during the moment that they were watching it, their cat freaked out or they lost power in the house. There's been a couple of odd things. I'm not sure it's enough to prove that this is a cursed film.
Was there any scary thing behind the scenes that didn't make it into the film?
I went to a place in India, which was a very revered and sacred place where actual human sacrifice had taken place many hundreds of years ago, but the site was still there. It's a very revered location. And the actual swords that took part in that human sacrifice, in many human sacrifices, were still there. Probably the eeriest, creepiest place we went to. It kind of freaked us all out a little bit. Feelings and atmosphere don't always come across on film. And unfortunately, that scene didn't make it into the film.
I wonder, do you think if somebody was to watch this film, would they potentially be putting themselves at risk?
The intention by the practitioners was solely aimed at me. But I'll let you into a little secret. All of the curse scenes that happened, you don't get to see every single word in that process. We edited it down, partly for time and partly for safety reasons. So that said, we did put a warning up at the start of the film just in case.
If you could go back and warn yourself before filming any of this, what would you say?
I don't know if I would warn myself because I think that I was supposed to make this film. I know that sounds kind of woo-woo, but I think some stories are supposed to be told. I think what I take away from this film is that whether or not you believe magic can have an effect on you or the psychology can have effect on you, the power of words are real. And so if those negative words can have this major effect on my life, then positive words can also have a major.
These are illegal islands that you should never visit. First off is Snake Island in Brazil.
Top 10 richest people in India. Let's go. Number 10 is Kumar Birla, Lakshmi Mittal, Godrej family, Radhakishan Kamani, Shiv Nadar. Number 5 is Uday Kotak, Palonji Mystery. Number 3 is Hinduja Brothers. Number 2 is Gautam Adani. And number 1, the man himself, Mukesh Ambani.
The weirdest world records of all time. Part 5. Zoe Ellis set a world record by stopping the blades of fans using just her tongue. She managed to stop the blades of 2 fans 32 times in 1 minute. So if anyone asks what that tongue do, she got receipts. Next up is Mr. Methane, a superhero who set a world record for the longest fart, and his toot lasted a whole 59 seconds. seconds. However, his record was claimed by Bernard Clemens, who farted nonstop for 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Christian Rodriguez just set the world record for the fastest 100-meter sprint in heels at 12.82 seconds. And what's crazy is he was only 3 seconds slower than Usain Bolt. Finally, Tim Cocker is known as the greatest drinker in the world. In 2014, he absolutely inhaled a 500-milliliter bottle of water in 1.75 seconds. Many people have matched this record, but none have proven to beat it.
Scary stories about Disneyland, except this one, there's actual proof. One time a guy went to Disneyland and was waiting to ride the roller coaster on Space Mountain. He was standing in line when a guy with red hair came up to him and started talking to him. He seemed nice, but he was a little bit odd. But the thing is, when the ride was over, this red-haired man literally vanished into thin air. The guest reported this incident and was told that he was alone the entire time. This guest might have just encountered a ghost people know as Mr. One Way. Rumor has it that he's the ghost of a man who passed away while on the ride in the 1970s. He always vanishes right before the ride is over, and he likes to talk to people who are riding the roller coaster alone. People have also reported seeing him in the cast member locker rooms. Follow if you want a part 2 because there's so many ghost stories about Disneyland.
Let's talk about one of the creepiest podcasts you can listen to, Nocturno, Tales from the Shadows. This is a podcast that if you scare easy, maybe don't listen to in the nighttime. Hosted by Danny Trejo, Nocturno is a terrifyingly immersive podcast that mixes modern horror with the scariest Latin American legends and myths. With an extremely horrifying sound design, extensive detailed storytelling, and a very talented voice cast that includes Danny Trejo, of course, Christina V, who voiced Killua from Hunter x Hunter, and Sailor Mars from Sailor Moon, Michael Cimino, who you might know from Love Victor or Until Dawn, and our very own Adam Barrera, aka Adam the Flop. Honestly, best podcast to listen to in the nighttime if you really want to get scared. But if you scare too easily, maybe just listen to it in the daytime. The trailer for Nocturno Season 2 is out right now. Go listen to it to find out how truly terrifying this podcast experience is. The first episode premieres on October 28th on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Meanwhile, you should definitely go and catch up and listen to Season 1. And I'll see you October 28th, okay? See you there. See you.
Normal-looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, Part 18. The girl in this photo was arrested for torturing and killing animals. She filmed herself doing it and even posted it online. She hanged her dogs by their collars, nailed them to walls, and even shot them with an airsoft gun. She would then cut them open and rip out their internal organs. This sweet-looking little girl is Jeannie, also known as the Wild Child, who spent the first 13 years of her life chained to a chair, and this photo was taken moments after she'd just been rescued. This normal-looking scenic painting features the ocean with the night sky. However, it was painted by Adolf Hitler, whose dream in life was to become an artist. However, he failed the entrance exam to art school and ultimately gave up. These pieces of yarn in a first-grade classroom are the trajectories of the bullets fired by the Sandy Hook shooter in 2012, who killed 20 children and 6 adults. The reason that the angles are pointing downward is quite disturbing when you think about it.
Sauce the boss, yo.
Morbid
Sauce the
Facts,
boss, of
Part
course.
836. When
Sauce.
Disney casted Tim Allen as the Santa Claus in 1994, the studio quietly broke its own rule against hiring ex-convicts. Back in 1978, he was arrested at the airport while trying to smuggle more than a pound of cocaine and faced a possible life sentence before cutting a deal to inform on other dealers. He spent over 2 years in federal prison, getting out in 1981, then spent the next decade rebuilding his career until Home Improvement turned him into a star in 1991. So by the time Disney handed him the lead role in the Santa Claus, they were making one of the rarest casting exceptions in company history, turning a former federal prisoner into the face of Christmas. A recent medical case from Denmark describes a 39-year-old man who died within 26 hours after drinking water from a coconut that had been sitting unrefrigerated on a kitchen table for more than a month. When he punctured it with a straw, he noticed it tasted strange but kept drinking. Inside, the coconut had become contaminated with Aspergillus flavus, a fungus that produces aflatoxin, one of the most potent natural liver poisons known. Within hours, he developed abdominal pain, vomiting, and liver failure. And despite emergency treatment, he died the next day from drinking coconut water.
Sauce the boss in the building.
I'm pretty sure this guy encountered a Skinwalker. Watch carefully.
Oh, who else, man? Sauce the boss, man. Of course, Sauce.
What the hell is that? I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Morbid facts about the cast of Stranger Things, Part 6. Dacre Montgomery has been open about being raised by what he described as an abusive father. He said he grew up terrified 24/7, was routinely screamed at, and had his self-esteem destroyed before he was even a teenager. By 18, he was struggling with severe depression and body image issues, and he said he still deals with trauma responses from that period of his life. Matthew Modine has said he watched a man die in front of him as a boy, a cyclist who was fatally struck by a car just feet from him. He remembers seeing the man thrown into the air and lying lifeless in the road, and has said it haunted him for many years. Shannon Purser, aka Barb, has spoken about being hospitalized for OCD so severe she was terrified to leave her own home. She described waking up with daily panic attacks, fear of contamination, and self-harm intrusive thoughts until she finally received treatment. Eduardo Franco has openly talked about growing up in a dangerous neighborhood in Yuma, Arizona, where he and his family lived under constant threat from local gangs. In interviews, he said his house was shot at multiple times in drive-by shootings, to the point where his family eventually relocated because the violence became impossible to live around. Why didn't they bring him back? Why didn't they bring him back?
Shout out to Sauce, the boss, of course.
This is why
man.
you
Who's
should
in
never
the
walk
building?
home alone at night. One night, a girl was at a nightclub with her friends. They were drinking and dancing the entire night. Her and her friends decided to leave at around 3 a.m., so she said goodbye and began to go home. But she couldn't find a taxi, so she decided to walk home. As she was walking, it was pitch dark out, and she thought she heard something moving in the bushes, so she began to walk faster. Suddenly, a man jumped out from behind a bush and blocked her path. His face was hideous. She tried to run, but he cornered her and grabbed her arms. The girl was screaming for her life and begging him to let her go. But the man's deformed face twisted into a creepy grin. The man then said to her, "Do you want death or smiley face?" She cried out, "Please just let me go." But the man said death or smiley face again. The girl didn't know what he meant, so she replied smiley face. The man then pulled out a knife and sliced the corners of her mouth all the way up to her ears. Now she had the same deformed smile as the man.
Not what you wish you didn't know. Every year, people come to the happiest place on earth and sprinkle their loved ones' ashes all over the place. The practice is so common that the staff have given it a special code name, and when they catch someone doing it, they have to clean it up with an ultrafine vacuum.
I'm sorry, but what? Seriously? If any of you have a cat or know someone with a cat, you're definitely going to want to watch this because you could have it and wouldn't even realize. There is a parasite that literally takes control of your whole brain. It's called Toxoplasma gondii. You can get this by cleaning your cat's litter, eating rare meat, or even just unwashed vegetables. So it's a lot more common than you think. But the scary thing is, once you have it, it doesn't go away. So scientists recently discovered that the parasite here actually rewrites your brain, which is insane to even think. From studies that have been conducted in people who are infected by this, it shows that they're more likely to take extreme risks and also more aggressive behavior tendencies. The scariest thing though is that it's estimated around 30% of people could actually have this but wouldn't even know because the symptoms are so light. Over 2 billion people are believed to potentially be living with this right now. There's no way to really get rid of it. Some of the symptoms that you could experience if you do have this. One of the most common ways though is uncooked food and unwashable. So make sure you cook things through thoroughly because you could then get it and wouldn't even realize.
This poor girl encountered the Serbian dancing lady. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my last video. The Serbian dancing lady is a woman that dances the street at night. She carries a knife with her, and if she encounters someone, then check out her encounter. It's believed to be bad luck if you make eye contact with her, which she did. It's scary because there's been so many sightings of this lady recently. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe. For more scary content, check out my YouTube channel, link in bio.
Most extreme beauty standards in the world.
Myanmar, neck rings. China, foot binding. Ethiopia. Lip plate. Japan. Ohaguro blackened teeth. Malawi. Chisel teeth. Japan. Yibet teeth.
Why would I make them so uncomfortable?
It probably has to do with your reputation.
I have a reputation?
They feel your methods, your theories are
Spooky. Do you think I'm spooky?
About you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the building.
Sauce the boss, yo, sauce the boss, of course. Sister Simple Sauce. Back on. Who else, man? Sauce the boss, man, of course.
Genius
Sauce.
inventions that should exist everywhere, part 2. Some elevators in Asia have giant buttons on the floor that you can kick to mark what floor you're going to. This was designed to help people who are carrying things and can't press the buttons with their hands. There's a mall that lets you leave your dog in a safe spot while you shop. The spot has a security system so that only you could open them, as well as lighting and air conditioning. In the United States, there's a shoe store that lets you test the shoes on different surfaces. The test box includes gravel, asphalt, and even materials like Lego. Finally, there's restaurants that give you a controller with 3 buttons. The first button lets the waiters know when you're ready to order. The second is to let them know when you're ready to pay. And the third one is to cancel your order. The idea is to avoid the waiters from constantly asking you if you're ready to order.
New Year's glasses are getting worse. So you know how every year on New Year's, it's a big tradition for people to wear New Year's glasses, and on the glasses is the year. And the first modern New Year's glasses were actually invented in 1991, and years after that, in the 90s, the New Year's glasses were a perfect design. I mean, your eyes literally fit right between the nines. And in the year 2000, New Year's glasses became super popular because they honestly looked super cool. I mean, they looked like regular glasses because the zeros. And from 2000 all the way to 2009, it was like this. But that's until 2010, because people got really confused on how to design them now. I mean, they were all over the place, but in 2011, things just got so much worse, because look at these designs right here. People really didn't know what to do, and this problem lasted all the way from 2011 to 2019. And in the 2020s, it's been even more chaotic, because the number 2 is bigger than the number 1. Yeah, we still have this problem in 2026. This has been an everlasting problem since 2009.
Here's some good things that are happening in the world right now. The person who just took this photo showing a rainbow has no end won Weather Photographer of the Year. A man who was crushed by a car and the stranger who comforted him while waiting for help just got married and celebrated by taking photos at the crash scene. A toddler was found safe after a German shepherd tracked her for hours in sub-freezing wilderness. An 80-year-old grandma who just learned how to swim when she was 59 years old is now the oldest female Ironman finisher ever. She did this in Hawaii by swimming 2.4 miles, then pedaling 112 miles on a bicycle, and then ran a full marathon after that. The actor Neil Newbin from Baldur's Gate 3 says his performance of the game pulled him out of $34,000 in debt and years of not doing very well. He said not only saving his life, but reinvigorating. The Netherlands has closed 20 prisons since 2009 due to a significantly low prison population because of lower crime rates and a focus on rehabilitation. This is Rico, a dog from Portugal that was saved from being euthanized and is now a pet detective. Thanks to Rico's sniffer, he has already taken part in over 20 different animals being saved, including a capybara named Cinnamon, who escaped from the zoo last year.
I'm about to ruin your childhood, part 2. Walt Disney didn't like Jewish people, abused women, and was a racist as well. The voice of Elmo was a predator that targeted minors. Mr. Mosby went to jail for killing a 21-year-old with his car while intoxicated. The lion costume from The Wizard of Oz was made with real lion fur. Dr. Seuss was a racist who abused his wife who had cancer, who eventually killed herself because of this.
Yo, I can't stop thinking about the fact that Cleopatra was born in 69 BC. For real. She was also born closer to you watching this video right now than she was to the construction of the pyramids, which would also make her born closer to you working alongside her in Heroes of History. The epic historical odyssey that starts you in the Stone Age and takes you through the greatest eras of history, working alongside familiar legends like Einstein, Cleopatra, Lincoln, Alexander the Great, Nostradamus, Plato, even Hercules, and everyone in between. Building your civilization from scratch, starting with agriculture and cave painting, going all the way up until the moon landing and beyond. Download Heroes of History with the link in my bio. This game is like the most addicting version of Civilization optimized for mobile, and you might even learn a thing or two along the way.
Shout out to Sauce,
I'm going
the
to
boss,
show you
of
maps
course,
that
man.
will
Who's in the
change your
building, man?
perspective. This map shows the European ancestry rates of the American continents. The darkest red areas have 95 to 100% of European ancestry, and the darkest blue areas have less than 20%. All of the territory that is shown in red here is how much control Japan had on the date of their surrender in World War II. Just in case that wasn't clear. This map shows how many Popeyes locations there are per 100,000 people in every U.S. state. Maine is the lowest with 0.1, and Louisiana is the highest with 3.3. This is a map of the railways in the United States, and this is a map of the railways in Alaska. Most people from Iceland are technically Americans in the sense that the North American plate runs through the middle of Iceland and controls where most of the people live. This map shows the cost per prisoner in the United States by state, and there's a pretty big variety where in Arkansas we're only spending $23,000 per prisoner, yet in Massachusetts it's $307,000 per prisoner.
Here's some of the scariest things that have been found by YouTubers. A YouTuber named Lewis Clark and his friends find an abandoned train and decide to document it on film. Most of the train cars are empty, but what they find in the caboose is nothing short of bone-chilling. They find a few sheets that seem to be stained with blood, covering something shaped like a body.
What is that? What? What the fuck?
They don't stick around to find out what's under the sheets, as the team runs away from the scene, jumping over a second sheet in the process. Due to TikTok's guidelines, the image you see now will be a blurred version of the original video, but you can find the uncensored video on YouTube.
Time travel tips, part 19. Travel back to Los Angeles.
It's his birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
Oh, this is big right here, y'all. Everybody wish Sauce, the official boss.
Oh man,
birthday,
we're back
man.
once again.
Let's go. Let's see it in the
it's a beautiful
timeline.
day. If you feeling down, just
I like to
get you a bag of that.
I like to
Just
I
light
like to
up.
wish Sauce.
Can't fight him, Mr. Head Ride. Can't greet him with two, only the third eye. Killer vision, PSVR, rent hospital. Let me on this track. Accidents, operas, conscience, unconscious. Slow riding on my train. Denzel, Chris Pine, unstoppable. Albert Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge. Therefore, I'm flying off the tracks. Extraterrestrial blunt, I got it on my lap. When the land soul train line, hop up on my dad. They fear what they don't understand. I forgive them cause they don't really know no better. Hope let them walk on water. I'm dancing in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with a polo sweater. How bad do you want success? I was holding my breath unconsciously. The conscious me woke up and came up for air. I turned 136 into the bomb, but hey, dancing for chopped, I guaranteed them in the dreams. Fire miss, Mr. Clean. Dirty talk, come shots, Listerine. The devil tried to catch me slipping, but my third eye open. I see when I don't know. Booty growing out the ground. I'm breathing the coke up. The pressure coming, they glitching up. You can count on the fingerless hand how many people I can trust. The word play insane. Meditate, bring down a plane with no passengers on it. Facing the blunt, putting mileages on it. Pushing T attitude, cutting ways, malices wasn't on it. I stayed to myself, I'm known as the cool kid. Come to the moolah, G's on his head like the school days between two legs. The pussy is the basket, I finish and dunk, pull out and shoot my cool jig. day.
He's
You
watching
see
us
how
on
I
his
do when I do
Friday
me.
night. He could be anywhere in the world. He's watching us.